What's up, everybody? We are back for another episode of FOMO Fans. My name is Brian Fanzo, better known as iSocialFans. We are on episode number 18. Excited. We are on 18. It feels like just yesterday or 18 episodes ago when we launched this podcast, FOMO Fans. Like I said, my name is Brian Fanzo, better known as iSocialFans. I'm the founder and host of iSocialFans.com, a keynote speaker, as well as I just launched a new course called Be Yourself. I also co-host a podcast known as Smack Talk with my longtime co-host, Daniel Newman. So you guys check out that podcast as well. But as most of you know, FOMO fans, the fear of missing out, the thing that I kind of got known for was being the guy that was on every platform and any platform and really attacked most platforms and technologies from the standpoint of saying, okay, this is new. What is it about? What is the audience that's there? How can I find value on it? And then does it have value for my community so that I should share and educate them on kind of this technology? And so I'm going to bring to you 3 new apps or 3 new ways or 3 new different technologies that I really think entrepreneurs especially can use to build their personal brand. But also, if you're an executive at a business, one of the things that a lot of people come to me and say, Brian, I just don't have the time to be active on social media. I don't have the time to build a personal brand. And I always say, we prioritize our time based on what we feel is important, and I can prove to you that's important. But from a whole different perspective, part of this comes down to really understanding what a personal brand is, and then also how you can go about leveraging different technology and tools that are out there to really take advantage of it. And so first and foremost, and this might surprise most of you, I think most entrepreneurs, they don't need personal branding. And bear with me for a second. Because personal branding for so many, it comes to this point and says, hey, how do I develop my story? How do I convey my message? How do I deliver my value proposition? How do I really tell people what I'm passionate about? How do I share my purpose? And for entrepreneurs, they're pretty good at that. Entrepreneurs, out of all the things that entrepreneurs, for the most part, have is they're usually passionate. They usually have a purpose. They're usually focused. They usually aren't afraid to tell people about what they like and why they like it and what they're all about. And so for so many, personal branding, and this is my own personal pet peeve, personal branding for so many people is like, hey, you should blast a bunch of crap on social media because that's where some people are. And if you just check this box that says personal branding, then you can do that by just having an account on Instagram and update your LinkedIn profile. But when I look at personal branding, I look at it a much bigger view. I talk about your digital first impression. I talk about how you can convey thought leadership. I talk about how you can build a long-term relationship, how you can leverage social listening to understand your competition, as well as maybe use it as a recruiting tool. I talk about how to monetize different aspects of your brand, of your story, to get in front of certain audiences. I talk about personal branding at a much higher level. And so when I look at this and when I start talking to people about personal branding, I always come back and say, hey, let's define what success looks like. So if you're building out a digital footprint and you're thinking about, hey, I want to leverage the power of digital. You're going to say, okay, I want to have a social media presence. I probably should have a website or a blog. If you're like me, you didn't really like blogging whenever you all started. But when I look at this, and this is going to get into these 3 apps that I'm going to talk about, when I look at personal branding, and especially when I look at it from a entrepreneur's perspective, I look at it and say, how do I reach the audience that I can't reach elsewhere? How do I establish thought leadership in an evergreen format, which means, for those that don't know the evergreen style, evergreen meaning that by conveying certain messages, they'll last forever. They're not, you're not talking about, 10 things you must do in January of 2017. You're talking about things like, hey, this is the best advice I have for, guiding yourself through the journey of life, and more, I'd say evergreen type content. And then you also want to make sure that you are, going to where your community is today, but also listening for where they're going to go tomorrow. And so when we're looking at all of these different things and we're looking at social media and we're looking at personal branding, this doesn't mean it's just a social networks. And I think for so many people, they're like, you must create YouTube videos. That's how you build a personal brand. Or you must go on live video. You know, you guys know I'm recording this on live video right now. For those that aren't watching live, I'm recording it on 5 different channels as we speak for live video because I want to bring this content to my live community. But when I look at personal branding, especially for entrepreneurs, they don't want to spend time marketing themselves or building a personal brand because they think they're already good at that. And they might be really good at telling their story, but most entrepreneurs, and I'm going to say most as I'm generalizing, which we all know nobody likes being generalized, but most entrepreneurs, they don't understand the total power and the width and the extended possibilities that exist by having a digital footprint, by embracing the power of digital. And so I'm going to talk about these 3 apps and these 3 different types of ways that you can build a platform. And there's so many different ways. I'm going to, in my course, I talk about a whole bunch of different things, but I'm going to talk about 3 ones. And I guarantee that maybe 2 of the 3 you might not heard of, or you haven't heard of them in relationship to personal brand building. And remember, personal branding is different for every person. Some people want to establish thought leadership. Some people want to get put on the radar of their next business they want to work with. Some people want to get their story heard because, I just said turd. Gonna get their story heard on social media so that they can get venture capitalists and so they can go after different groups there, right? There's all these different value propositions, all these different reasons for having a personal brand. And when I look at personal branding, it's not one or the other. It's actually, hey, you define what's most important to you and prioritize that. And one of them that I think is extremely important, you cannot overlook, is actually establishing thought leadership. And for a lot of people, when you hear establishing thought leadership, don't worry, I'm not going to say, write a whole bunch of fluffy crap that has no real actionable insights, like predict 2036 technology trends, right? That's thought leadership. Because if you predict far enough out, nobody will remember that you predicted it. And then if you're right, you can go back and pull up the record and say, hey, back in 2017, I predicted something in 2038. And if you're wrong, everybody forgot by then. And so then you're good. And that's a thought leader. Wrong. I believe thought leadership comes down to conveying what your principles are, sharing what your passion is, building trust through subject matter expertise, through your ability to connect people to help them solve their problems, and ultimately building up that trust and authenticity that says, whenever I tell you that these are 3 apps, or I explain to you and connect you with these people, it is worth your time to invest in that. And so the first one, and I've talked about this app on the show, but I want to talk about it in a sense of personal